Welcome to another edition of Cats Wrap with myself, Parker Wheeler, and my co-host, Ben Nahn.
It was a wonderful weekend here in Durham as homecoming took place. The Wildcats were able to upend Elon 37-14, and men's and women's soccer continues to roll. Let's take a look at some of the records and scores.
The volleyball team is 11-7 after a 3-0 sweep. The field hockey team is 4-6 after their most recent loss to Albany, 4-1. The football team with that 37-14 victory over Elon is now 3-2. The men's soccer team continues their success early on as they're 7-0-2 on the season after their 3-1 win, And the women's soccer team undefeated now in America East after their 1-0 victory.
Coming up later in the show, we'll look at running back Dalton Crossan's career day as UNH football upended Elon 37-14.
The men's hockey team was victorious in their exhibition game against St. Francis Xavier as they won 6-4. Let's take a look at the highlights. The Wildcats fell down early and were down 1-0 in the first period on a wraparound goal here on the backhand that snuck by the arm of Danny Taroni. But they came back quickly. In 3 minutes and 55 seconds left in the first period, Richard Boyd scored a goal with the defenseman, putting it to the far side on the blocker. But St. Francis Xavier was able to respond in the second period as they dribble one between Taroni's legs to extend their lead. They ended up taking a 4-1 lead over the Wildcats in the second period. It looked like UNH was down, but Dylan Maller with a pass to the far side and Shane Iserman buries a one-timer to make it 4-2. This was the start of UNH scoring 5 unanswered goals to end up winning the game by a score of 6-4 as Harry Quast finds one on the top shelf and puts it past the goaltender of St. Francis Xavier. Coming in here, Tyler Kelleher feeds Andrew Podorowski, the sophomore, who puts one to the blocker's side. That was the tying goal to make it 4-4. And for some insurance here, Matthias Cleland, another defenseman for the Wildcats, scoring right there, makes it a 6-4 final for the Wildcats in their exhibition game. So UNH really looked like they weren't going to be able to dig themselves out of a hole early on, down 4-1. But they come back with 5 unanswered goals. It was an incredible performance by that Wildcat team.
I felt as if it was kind of something they were able to lead off of last year, getting it together at the end and somewhat the comeback kids. And even in an exhibition against a solid St. Francis Xavier team, the Wildcats were just able to find the back of the net when it mattered most. I'd like seeing that Iserman and Cleland and Maller making big plays. All of them on the Wildcats seem to, gel together now. I think the chemistry is high. And leading into their opener against AIC, I'm excited for this team, Parker.
Well, certainly something you could see in a lot of those highlights. You mentioned it. A lot of the defensemen jumping up into the play. It seemed like UNH was really pushing the defensive side of the game as in trying to get them up and really rush with the offensive players, and it worked out perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, they clamped down when it mattered most, and I think that helped Taroni a little bit. Even Clark came in. I thought that was good to see as a solid backup, him doing what he needed to do. But offensively, that surge, man, when it happens, if you're Coach Umili, you got to be proud.
Let's take a look at the difference between the first line of last year and really where they're losing the scoring from those 3 players that left for the Wildcats. Matt Willows had 19 goals and 16 assists for a combined 35 points, while Grayson Downing had 21 goals and 15 assists for 36 points, and Casey Thrush, the other senior there on that line, 6 goals, 19 assists, 25 points. That's 30% of the Wildcat offense last season. And on top of that, Tyler Kelleher was the leading point scorer, who's a young guy, but he also had 42 points on the year. But they're going to have to find a way to replace that top line. And you got to look at a guy like Tyler Kelleher to step in, but also maybe an Andrew Podorowski to step into that spot as well and play well for the Wildcats.
These are the guys to look at now. It's going to be tough to replace players like Willows and Downing, but I do think with Podorowski, they have the players to do that. Iserman and Podorowski showed what they can do when they have the puck on their stick. I'm excited to see it. I think Coach Umili has enough trust and confidence in this group to do it with what they got around them.
Let's take a look at the Wildcats' upcoming home games.
The Wildcats will kick off the season on October 10th versus American International at 7 p.m. and then back-to-back home games next week, the 16th versus St. Lawrence at 7 p.m. and then on the 17th against Clarkson University at 7 p.m.
Taking a look at the next upcoming game for the Wildcats against American International College, this is a matchup that the Wildcats are favored in. They struggled last year, did AIC, allowing 4 goals per game, more than that actually. So this UNH offense should be able to match up well against the AIC team.
Absolutely, but they can't, overlook this AIC team. Even being in the home opener, I know a lot of nerves are going to run through the team. And being so, they can't overlook them. They still got to attack offensively. Got to look to Iserman and Podorowski and players like Kelleher to carry the slack. But defensively, too, they got to be able to clamp down and help Tironi. You don't want to just sit back and be conservative. They got to attack, and I think that will benefit them the most.
Certainly will.
The women's soccer team beat Albany 1-0 this past weekend. That moves them to 3-0 in conference. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Taking a look at some of the highlights here, it was neck and neck for most of the first half until the Wildcats found the back of the net. In about the 33rd minute, Kelsey Davis, a nice little pass right to Brooke Murphy, who finds the back left of the net, past Brennan, the goaltender for University at Albany. And then as we finished most of the first half, Albany had a few chances from Vega, who led the team with shots on net. But the Wildcats were able to dictate the pace in the second half, and Mimi Borkin made some sharp saves for the Wildcats to win over Albany 1-0. So Parker, at 3-0 in conference right now, the Wildcats are just rolling along. I felt like Brooke Murphy's starting to find the back of the net, similar to last season. Caroline Murray, her footwork is just impressive to say the least. So the Wildcats are just finding ways to win. If you're Coach Steve Wellham, you got to be happy with this group. Yeah,
absolutely. Usually it's the defense that steps up for this team. We saw that a lot last year when they ended up winning the championship. Again, the defense is here, and it's they're playing quite well, but the offense is there as well. You mentioned, obviously, the standout names, Caroline Murray, Brooke Murphy, the two that usually lead this team offensively, but it's even expanded from there. More players stepping up and making some great plays. It's really good to see for this Wildcat team. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the UNH soccer team.
On October 8th, the Wildcats will take on UMass Lowell at 7 p.m. And then on October 11th, they'll travel to New York to take on Stony Brook at 2 p.m. And then come back here home on Bremner on the 15th versus UMaine at 7 p.m. Congratulations to Andrew Urell of TNH, who answered last week's question of how many weeks the Wildcats have been in the FCS poll. The answer was 160 weeks. After their win this past week against Elon, it's at 161. Let's take a look at this week's trivia question. What is UNH's record at Cowell Stadium since 2007? Tweet your answers to @CatsRapUNH on Twitter and tune in next week to see who the winner is. Parker, it was a wonderful homecoming weekend here in Durham, New Hampshire, but nothing better than the Wildcats coming away with a victory against Elon. A career day for junior running back Dalton Crossan. Let's take a look at some of those highlights. So as you can see, the Wildcats jumped on the board early versus Elon. Dalton Crossan right away, a nice jet sweep right down the sideline, bringing it to the house, a little hurdle there to get his first touchdown of the game. And after that, they didn't look back. Right here, another touchdown. Jordan Powell, the tight end, showing that he has some hands, and he caught that one, brought it right in the chest, even with a couple defenders all of them, for a touchdown. And then defensively, one of the top 10 plays on ESPN of the night, Lamar Edmonds with the no-look interception pass. An unbelievable play. The Wildcats on all fronts, offensively and defensively, brought it home. They did what they had to do against a pretty good Elon team, and moving into a tough matchup in a couple weeks against William and Mary, they have a lot of reason to keep their heads held high.
Yeah, certainly. Going into a bye week, they're looking to go up above 500, and they do so. They come out offensively strong and defensively sound. You see that interception there, like you said, a top 10 play on ESPN. It doesn't get much better than that. The Wildcats were firing on all cylinders, and you could tell right from the get-go that's what they wanted to do, and that's what they accomplished.
Definitely junior Dalton Crossan with the career day, 4 touchdowns, 140 yards on 22 carries. Impressive numbers. Let's take a look at some of his highlights, because I tell you, this guy is the reason why this team is playing so well right now. He's the one that really starts it off. Dalton Crossan had an impressive career day in the backfield to help lead the Wildcats. On only 12 carries in the first half, he had 3 touchdowns. He ended with 4 total, but Dalton Crossan was able to juke moves, power the run right here to the outside. He's so good at bouncing to the outside, evading defenders, getting away from them, and then he's not even afraid to pound it right into the end zone. The guy is agile, he is quick, but he's also fierce with the ball. And right here, what a beautiful play to recognize. He's almost out of bounds, keeps his feet in line to tiptoe into the end zone. Dalton Crossan really putting on a display. It was an incredible feat for him. Now, moving forward, I think the Wildcats can continue to rely on him on the run. And I think for Adam Reese, who's really the backup quarterback who's played well, he's happy to know that he has a back like Dalton Crossan that can really lead your team to victory. Taking a look at some of the stats here, Dalton Crossan, 10 total touchdowns leading the team. He had 4 touchdowns on the day against Elon and 140 rushing yards. Career highs for Crossan. The sky's the limit for this guy.
Our own Dylan Hand caught up with Dalton Crossan and talked with him about the great start to his season.
Thanks, guys. So Dalton, you obviously had a great game last week, 4 touchdowns. You were named CAA Co-Offensive Player of the Week. What was it like for both you and your team to get off to a good start on homecoming?
It was definitely good. I think we needed a big win. Coming off a very good Central Connecticut win, also after the 1-2 start. So I think we're back on track now. We're playing well again. It was great. It was an unbelievable team effort. Just offense, defense, special teams. I think we played well in all 3 phases.
How's it been? You had some frustrations with injuries last year, but now you're off to a great start. What's it been like now that you can stay on the field at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, last year was definitely really tough with my hamstring problems that I had. But I've been working real hard off season and this season, taking care of my body and making sure I'm always stretched out. And we have a guy named Rusty Jones who works with us in the training room, and John and Cindy, they all do a great job in keeping us healthy.
Last couple of years, you've been able to work with Nico Soretti, Jimmy Owens, 2 great running backs. What kind of things did you learn from them as you kind of got to work behind them?
I learned a lot from Nico and Jimmy. I was with them for 3 years, and they're both great running backs, great leaders, great football players. It was just I definitely learned a lot on and off the field from them. How to manage school and football when I first came in, and then just learning the plays and learning from them in pretty much every way.
Going into the bye week now, you got a week off. What's going to be your focus personally and for the team going in?
I think myself and the rest of the team, we want to get healthy. Nicks and bruises here and there. Sprained ankles. Sean, Lauderdale. I think the bye week is awesome for us right now to get healthy and get some guys back. And then we also want to get better this week and next week. Obviously, practicing, preparing for William and Mary, who's a great team in the CAA.
All right, thank you. Back to you guys.
Parker, Dalton Cross, and man, coming off an injury, this guy is he's strong right now, and it's good to see that on the field and off the field. He's confident, and after a career day, you got to look to him as the guy you need to go out every game and do well. And I think he's a good leader for this team and for the Wildcats, getting Sean Goldrich back, Andrew Lauderdale back. They can look to Cross and be like, hey, how do you bounce back like that? It's awesome to see a guy like Crossan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly has confidence in the way he's playing, and it looks good out there on the field, and he's clearly feeling confident in himself all over the place right now, and it's a good thing to see for this Wildcat team.
Taking a look at the upcoming games for the football team, yes, on the 17th, they will travel to the College of William and Mary to take on a rival team at 12 p.m. And then on the 24th, they'll travel to the University of Delaware at 3:30 p.m. and then come back here on Halloween, trick or treat, to take on the University of Rhode Island at 1 p.m.
Make sure you tune into next week's edition of Cats Wrap as we bring you everything that happens around Durham and sports.
And make sure you tweet your answers at CatsWrapUNH for the trivia question, and you might be considered the winner next week.
For Ben Don and the entire production crew, my name is Parker Wheeler. Have a great week, Wildcats.